Hi, this is Debbie and thank you for joining me. Today I'm taking a quick look at some of the new Altenew stamps and dies released for March and then creating a card using one of the new multiple stamp layering sets that Altenew are renowned for. So here I have a selection from the new release. First up is the beautiful Sweet Rose Bouquet set, which consists of a lovely rose arrangement with 4 layers to stamp for the blooms and 3 layers for the leaves. Next is the Wildflower Garden set with simple flower outlines to stamp your own arrangement. Tucked in among the stamp sets is this lovely dotted scales debossing cover die, which creates subtle backgrounds. I'm looking forward to using the Neighbourhood stamp set to create some clean and simple new home cards. I'm thinking of leaving the houses at the edge just in outline, but then colouring the most central house. There is also a standalone Neighbourhood die to coordinate with the Neighbourhood stamp set, which will die cut a larger house and a little dog too. Wow, just look at the size of this mega succulent set. Although I've not videoed the card I made with this set, here's a picture of it and you can find more details on my blog, which I will link below. The Hope set has a stunning bloom with 3 layers to stamp for the large bloom, leaf and bud. Finally, Altenew often release dies to go along with the previously released sets, and this die coordinates with the Story of Us set. I'm going to be using the beautiful Sweet Rose Bouquet set for my card. Stamp layering is a fabulous way to create highlights and shadows on an image, and with 4 layers for the flowers and 3 layers for the leaves, this set packs in a lot of detail. Although spring is trying valiantly here to drive away the last of the snow, and with it hopefully will come lots of bright fresh greens. However, for my card I'm going with a more subtle palette of grey leaves with a pop of pink for the flowers. I think the neutral tone of the leaves really lets the bloom take centre stage, and also has a lovely elegant look too. The 3 inks I'm using for the leaves are from lightest to darkest, Morning Frost, Evening Grey and Moon Rock. I find it helpful to use a stamp positioner such as the Mini Misty here, so that if need be I can stamp a layer a couple of times to get the best impression. I often do this with the lightest colours to make sure this layer is still clear to see. I must admit I don't always get the layers perfectly aligned. However, once everything is stamped, you really don't notice those imperfections. And also, I quite like the slightly misaligned look, as I think it gives more energy to the image. The colours I'm using for the roses are Pink Diamond, Pinkalicious, Rubellite and Razzleberry. I think these cool pinks contrast nicely with the warm greys of the leaves. And I think it's that contrast between the lightest and the darkest layers which really makes the flowers pop. I believe there is a matching die for this set, but I don't have it, and so I'm going to fussy cut instead. However, I wanted to remove the large open area between the stems, and I find that easier to do with a scalpel. One tip I have is to always tackle the fiddliest areas first, when there is the most card attached to the image to stabilise it. Cutting out the area between the stems would have been a lot trickier if I'd fussy cut around the flowers first. Once I'd got the area between the stems out, I then fussy cut around the image with my scissors. And another tip I have is to move the paper as much as possible rather than the scissors. So being right-handed, I cut with the scissors in my right hand and move the paper around with my left. With the lovely rose bouquet now trimmed out, I'm going to cut the dotted scales debossing cover die from a piece of Nina Solar White card. The die cuts a panel the size of an A2 card with the dotted pattern debossed into the piece. It creates a lovely subtle background, and mounting the flowers on this will still appeal to my clean and simple style while giving just the right amount of interest to the background. I added a generous covering of scrapbook adhesive foam squares to the back of the roses, but before I mounted them onto the background piece, I trimmed it down so that it was slightly smaller than an A2 card base. This way, when the background is mounted to the card base, you will see a slim border around the edges. The glitter pack from Samsy Stamp has a huge array of colours to choose from. I was quite tempted with magenta, but in the end went with a subtler rose gold. I cut from this rose gold glitter card the Everything die from the Halftone Everything set. I love the font of this die and it's elegant too, which I think matches the roses perfectly. I then chose a matching sentiment from the set to go with the die. I placed a piece of slate card in the Mini Misty and treated it with a powder tool. I'm going to be heat embossing the sentiment, and the powder will help prevent the embossing powder randomly sticking to the card. I stamp the sentiment in clear embossing ink, and being sticky, the embossing powder sticks to this ink. I sprinkle the sentiment with white embossing powder, and then heat set. I used a scalpel along with a ruler with a metal edge to trim the sentiment to a skinny banner. With everything now prepared, it was time to put the card together. I usually use foam adhesive to adhere a panel to a card base, but today I'm trying a piece of fun foam adhered with Ranger Multimedia Matte. I'm hoping the full piece of foam will support the panel better when going through the mail. I used Ranger Multimedia Matte to adhere the glitter die cut sentiment to the top of the panel, removed the backers from the foam squares on the roses and added those at a slight angle, and then added the coordinating sentiment, again with more foam squares. I used a rolled up glue dot to hold in place a twine bow, and then as a final accent I added enamel dots in the New Day colourway, which had the perfect matching tones of light and dark pink. Well, that completes this card looking at the new Sweet Rose bouquet set with its multiple layers of stamping. I really do think the layers add so much, especially the darkest colour layer, which really brings the flowers and leaves to life. I'll leave links in the YouTube description below to the products that I've used today, as well as a link to the coordinating blog post over at limedoodledesign.com. I want to thank you for joining me today, and if you've enjoyed this tutorial, I'd be delighted if you subscribe to this channel. Thanks, and I'll see you next time.